TMH Holding Group last year through TMH Africa invested in the African market through the acquisition of the DCD rolling stock facility, which you can read more about in issue 4, 2018 of Railways Africa. The last time I spoke to Jerome was at InnoTrans, and TMH Africa was still waiting for the Competition Commission's approval. This is now through, and Jerome joins me for coffee to give us an update. Jerome, thank you for taking the time to join me.
Thank you. Good morning, Philippa. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. So, Competition Commission approval is through. You're on site.
Yep.
What's been happening?
So we actually started on the 1st of November, as you said, through this acquisition process. We acquired the rolling stock asset of the DCD group. And since the 1st of November, we're actually trading as TMH Africa. Mostly, as we said during InnoTrans, around new build for other OEM, reusing some of the skills we have acquired here. And our focus, as we said last time, is really maintenance, whether it is upgrade, modernization, or basic maintenance for keeping the availability and the reliability at the right level. So at the moment we are obviously busy repurposing a little bit the site, making sure that the local team is understanding the TMH way of working, and also organizing ourselves to deliver on the business plans we have for 2019 and beyond.
So just recap us on the global strategy, especially not just for Africa but globally, and how that impacts TMH Africa.
TMH Holding is a Russian group, a Russian OEM, mostly based in Russia, which has embarked now a little bit less than 2 years ago into an international drive. This has brought the group to Argentina, to Kazakhstan, to Cuba, to Egypt, and to South Africa. So this is, I would say, a fit for purpose investment strategy. We are first and foremost an investor in the railway market, both in terms of money but also in terms of capacity and knowledge. And we intend to develop what is making the group business today, 50% new build and 50% service, because this is one of the specificity of the TMH Holding Group, is that there is a very significant component in the turnover and in the manpower which is dedicated to maintenance, service and upgrade. For South Africa and Africa, we believe it is a much needed capacity, because this is not something we widely see available on the market. And we're obviously relying partly on our acquisition and partly on our group for support and for also helping us through this, teething period, or at least growth phase, so we are fully fledged and capable.
So what changes and investments have you made at TMH, your new TMH facility? Have there been significant changes?
It's not a one day to the other type of approach, it's a journey, I would say. So what we're doing at the moment is that we are busy restructuring the plant. To get into the details of it, there was 2 businesses of DCD hosted in the same facility, so we are making it leaner, making it more organized for the type of production we want to have. We are dedicating part of the plant to new build, we are dedicating part of the plant to the service area, trying to make sure we don't have too much contamination by stripping things on the same side you are reassembling things. So all these things are being done, and they are being done obviously to fit the local condition, but with a view of also fitting the way we do that internationally on all our sites and making sure we have common practices. So that's I would say, the facility approach. On the other side, we are also investing on people. Obviously, that's the main component of what is our ability to deliver. People on engineering, where we're trying and making sure the team of engineers we have here are linked with our global engineering team to get the necessary support and ways of working. We are working also on making sure our workers are understanding what is happening, because usually we have a tendency to make sure that all the management and big people are traveling and understanding what is happening abroad. And we took the overview and we actually sent a group of workers from the shop floor to train and work in Russia.
In the cold?
So that was the big issue. So we had this idea in July, and it was the right time to get to Russia, but eventually, because of the time of the closing of the acquisition, it actually happened in November and December, so we had to go through the cultural differences, the cold differences, the food differences. But eventually what is very interesting in there is that we had these guys on the shop floor with interpreters, on-the-job training, kind of teachers and so on, and then they just figured out how to work with their Russian counterpart. And the very interesting thing was that the feedback we got from the plant was that the guys were adaptable, the guys were really hardworking, and they were also extremely skilled. And I think for us, it's a confirmation of the value of the investment. We oftentimes hear that South African is lacking skills. That's not always true, and I think we need to be proud of it. And that's for us the confirmation that it is worth investing in the country, making sure these skills are kept and available, up and running, and ready for the 2019 challenges we have.
I believe that you're busy with a few deliveries at the moment. You've got some orders that you're busy with. Can you elaborate a bit more for me?
So we're busy with, I would say, delivering on the strategy. I earlier talked about new build and service, and I think it's a good way to illustrate. We are busy with GE loco assembly at the moment, so a bit of, I would say, mechanical steelwork, mechanical construction, electrical assembly, testing, commissioning. We're still working on the last two loco of the batch, and which will be out in the next month. And this is something very interesting because working with one OEM very closely, delivering on their specification, for us it's very interesting. It shows we can do it in Africa, and it's also a good way to collaborate and demonstrate that we are multi-vendor. We can work with many OEM. And be able to adapt ourselves, adapt our local capacity to deliver global OEM specification for the South African market. On the service side, it's a little bit more of how to say, localization of an existing loco. So that's progress rail locos, which we have adapted to the local conditions. So we did a bit of paneling and painting, but that's the, I would say, outside work. What we did most importantly was that we brought the gauge to the Cape gauge standard because it was metric. We brought the locos to vacuum brake to comply with the regulation, and then we did a little bit of work around piping, controls, and so on and so forth, to make sure that these locos are back to their original owner in good condition and ready to work in the continent.
So the new build strategy going forward, so those are great projects that you're working on. But going forward, I mean, is there an opportunity for you to work with Prasa or Gautrain and then into Africa? So passenger and diesel, maybe electric?
So for us, clearly, Boxberg as a group is our, what I would call, narrow gauge place. And narrow includes the metric and the Cape for our own market in Africa. The group works on wide gauge. There is little appetite and capacity for narrow gauge activities, and we will focus it here. Today, in terms of product development, we are not going on locomotive as yet. It's a bit of a stretch for us, so that's not our intention. We will continue manufacturing locomotive for others and work with multiple partners. As a matter of reference, we work with GE on diesel locomotive in other part of the world, where we have a common JV in Kazakhstan. We also have a JV in Kazakhstan with Alstom on electrical locomotives, but our metro traction systems are done in conjunction with Hitachi in Russia. So we have this mindset and ability and experience in working with different OEM for different products. So we're happy to do that for the new build in South Africa. Obviously for South Africa, for the continent, but for serving also the narrow gauge market around the world, and we are currently busy working on some potential orders for Southeast Asia from Boxberg. So that would be something very interesting to do, but we are not yet at the implementation time. It's still a bit time to go. On the local market, working with Prasa, obviously, working with anybody like the road train. On the road train, we can either manufacture for an OEM once the time is right, or maybe look into finding our own way to do an EMU on standard gauge, because this is more close to our current portfolio.
I'm not sure if you share my optimism, but I do believe that 2019 is the year for rail, especially in the mining sector, where I'm seeing more and more mining companies taking, control or charge of their logistics requirements. What are your thoughts on these, and do you consider this a growth opportunity?
So I think we are very aligned on this one. First of all, because 2019 is our first year of operation. So if we were not believing in rail, we would not have invested in South Africa, we would not be gearing up to have an up and running facility, and we would be doing something else. For us, it will be obviously a very tense year, because we are starting and we have to align a lot of things at the same time. On the specific mining activity, we know for a fact that these private operators, people who are managing rail operation for the sake of their ultimate delivery, are very keen in getting more support. We do that in many countries in the world, supporting end-to-end type of corridor approach. This is something we are ready to do in South Africa. Today we have the rolling stock component. We are busy partnering to make sure we can deliver on infrastructure. We have a signaling offering. And we also have, as part of our global network, operation capacity. So that's something we will look on an ad hoc situation with mining industries, for instance, to say, how can we make sure rail is not a pain point for you and delivers what you need, and make sure your goods are reaching the market? Because eventually that's what they need.
Yes.
They are not rail operators. For them it's a mean to get their business delivered, and this is what we are happy to facilitate.
One talks about the size of the pie versus the number of OEMs and suppliers, and it's been really tough times, but I do see a shift from industry consolidating and new ways of doing things. What are your thoughts on this?
So I think, you're very correct. We see the industry consolidating globally in I would say, two different approaches. You have a vertical integration, which is happening in some geographies or in some cases, and you have an horizontal integration, which is happening in other cases. What this means is that all the actors, OEM or not, are realizing that they need to deliver a more broader spectrum of services to their customers, who are focusing on their own revenue stream, which is operation. And we are trying to make sure that this is getting as least painful as possible for them by integrating rolling stock, so pure supply, into availability, reliability services. We do that, for instance, on locos, on coaches, on EMUs. So that's something which is more and more in the market. And globally, this is very interesting because it gives a lot of actors different roles to play. So we are not anymore in the OEM space. We are on the OEM space to deliver service to the operator and not just deliver one piece of equipment and leave the space.
Well, I'm looking forward. Is there any exciting things happening? Are you going to do an official factory opening?
So we'll do an official factory opening. The date is being, defined and validated to make sure that all the key people can be present with us. And we look forward to being able to participate, bring our own share to the local tenders which are coming, whether it is for Prasa, for Transnet, or for the road train. And in the region, next step, but which is coming very, very fast, we are working on some other opportunities in neighboring countries, and we hope we will be able to announce good news very, very soon.